Right, so I just want to be clear. The point of these calls is isn't to be like a presentation or anything like that. It really is just to have a discussion and just to get to know people in the group. Um, there's a lot of people in the group, and I know not everyone wants to talk in the group settings. And the whole point of the group is for us to just know what other people are doing, learn more about the industry, share best practices, and just move things forward, really. And if we ever come across someone that we think we can work with or some information that we think we can use it to level up. So yeah, the group exists to connect serious operators, landlords, care providers, investors, industry professionals together. And personally, I've met a lot of good people through this group, and it's definitely helped me a lot in things like staffing, finding properties, and just getting gems on how to get through certain registration processes at times. I was doing these calls monthly, but I do want to move that now to quarterly. I think quarterly will offer more value, and it will allow me and other people that are involved in these calls to cover more ground in between the calls and make the calls more valuable, and make sure that by the time we come back, we've got something to talk about, and essentially hold each other accountable a little bit more as well. So as it's just a few of us on the call, does everyone mind introducing themselves and saying what it is that you do? Hi there. Thank you. Okay. Nice, nice. Caroline, I know you might have your hands tied. Can you speak? All right, Caroline. No, no problem, no problem. Um, and just for reference, Caroline's actually someone that we work with, and she's one of our referral partners. She actually is able to handle slightly higher need people than what we can handle with our Crossroads Housing and Support. So, very good contact over there. So I just have a lot of some notes here, some things that were on my mind as talking points to help us through the discussion. And what I would say, Pretty, is at any point, feel free to jump in, feel free to ask any questions or share any knowledge that you may have, because I don't claim to know everything. Hi there, Dennis. Yeah, no problem. Hi, Dennis. Can you hear us? He's probably just listening in. Yes. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, yeah, definitely. It's all about collaboration. So thank you for your help so far. So one second, I've got a couple of screens here. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was registration realities. Personally, I've only been I've only been involved in Ofsted to this point. Um, I know a little bit about CQC, but it's not something I've operated in at all. So that would probably be more Caroline's lane. With the Ofsted as well, again, I've only ever really done it from the perspective of looking over someone's shoulder, supporting at times, and I'm about to go through that process now for a well, I'm going to go through it twice actually. One for a children's home that we're working on. We're just waiting for planning, which hopefully should come in May. And the other is for our adult provision, working on getting it CQC registered so that we can work with younger people. So not necessarily full children, but care leavers 16 to 18 plus. And the goal is to be able to provide a more holistic provision because right now we get a lot of referrals that are like, say, under the age of 21. Our youngest age is 21 for the adults that we do. But it would be good if we could serve that network of like 16 to 21 a little bit more adequately. Right now, putting them underneath the adults wouldn't be appropriate. And the money that we get paid for the adults is quite low, just literally through the support exempt accommodation. So it wouldn't be right to put young people underneath that program, as it's just not sufficient for them. It's not sufficient at all. Um, Pretty, just so I know, you're saying that you want to get into the space as a provider. Is that right to say? Yeah. And what are you interested in doing? Mhm. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Okay. That's fair enough. Um, One thing I would say about putting requests in the group is to just be consistent. Sometimes it's like the fifth and the sixth time you put something out that you might get someone that picks up on it. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's like anything. You put it out once, you put it out twice, and it's just you never know who might see at the right time. That could be. So I would just say, as part of everything else that you're doing, just maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, just copy and paste the same template, put it out there. You just never know. You know what I mean? Over 400 people in the group, there's someone there that is the person. There's just, it depends whether they're looking at the phone at the time. Um, all right, thanks for the other people that have joined the call. Does anyone care to introduce himself? And I'm not going to put anyone on the spot, but if you want to introduce yourself, feel free to take your mic off at any time and let us know what you do and who you are. So at the moment, we're just talking about registration. So I've noted that personally, I'm looking at Ofsted. I have a collaboration with someone who's already an Ofsted regulated provider, doing 16 to 18. So I've started to get a real good understanding of what that is and what that takes. And my goal is to set up a children's home by early 2026 or late 2025. Um, okay, that's no problem. Thank you. So I've got some talking points here. I just want to go through them one by one because I do use these things to help lead my discussion. So what are inspectors really looking for? So again, I'm only speaking from my perspective. Everyone's got different ways of looking at it and different experiences. For me, I've seen that culture and governance is becoming more important. Um, while safeguarding is obviously key, I think safeguarding and things like health and safety and all those kind of things are almost some of the simplest things to sort, i.e., a fire door is either compliant or it's not. And the alarms are either hardwired and integrated or they're not. But things like culture, what's the energy like in the accommodation? Governance, like what's the experience of the team? What care models do they have in place? Those things are a little bit more subjective. Sorry, let me. I got two screens here. Yeah, those things are a little bit more subjective, and I'm seeing that with everyone, with the influx of people getting into the space, they have to find new ways of assessing people. So if everyone is the same, if everyone's house looks okay, if everyone's got the same compliance, if everyone's got the same policies and procedures, what really would set them apart? Um, and the only thing left after that is the things that you can't put a price on, and you can't, it's less tangible. Like, what's the energy like in the house? Like, what's the background of the people that are actually setting this up? Because again, you've got situations where you've got people with absolutely no experience in care, obviously setting up because they're trying to make a profit. And I'm seeing and hearing that those things are looked on less favorably now. And it's if they see like a whole team of people, management, leadership, that just don't have any experience and they're literally putting the money up and just want to hire the right people, then they're actually getting knocked back. I've seen and heard of people saying that our application has been not approved because they don't believe that we're in this for genuine reasons. So I was actually surprised to hear that, because whilst it makes sense, I didn't think that was a legitimate reason to knock someone back if they ticked all the other boxes. But it's becoming that way, which it probably should. Um, Again, guys, it's all a discussion. I've just got these talking points. So if you want to jump in at any point, if you want to add anything, feel free to do it. Otherwise, I'll just keep going through my notes and just keep talking. Um, the real cost of poor preparation. Um, this is something that I would say I've experienced myself, both in the 16 to 18 side and also even on the journey now with my. Sorry, I'm just looking at the notes that you put on there, Chardonnay. How would you suggest showcasing as a new provider? Um, okay, so for us, one of the and I'll get back to where I was going to go. One of the things that we've been doing is we've been trying to find new and creative ways of marketing. So one of the things that really moved the needle for us was an open day. Um, Two things: an open day and some serious cold lead marketing. So there are different ways of finding and building databases with things like social workers, placement team officers, commissioners, and really reaching out to them. The best way probably is going to be by email. By email, but also producing like PDFs and videos and visuals, letting them know what it is that you're sharing. So one of the things that we have is maybe like a 2-page document for our 16 to 18 unit, that lets them know everything about it, the price, couple of images, what we offer, the different councils that we worked in. Yeah, LinkedIn is good. LinkedIn is good, but I find that the response rate on LinkedIn is very poor. So I would say use LinkedIn to build up like a bit more information about the contact, such as like the name and the previous jobs and all those kind of things there. But in terms of using LinkedIn alone, I don't think it will be enough. Sorry, let me just update this. Yeah, yeah. Using LinkedIn alone, it won't be enough. We use it like together in conjunction with. So I think at one point over a week we were sending like a couple hundred LinkedIn responses. Um, but just remember, sometimes you only need one. And it really is like 100 sent out, 90 ignored, 10 maybe respond with something, and one ends up being something you can use. Um, but it really needs to be like you're attacking on all fronts. So LinkedIn is great. I would also say if you can get access to the placement portal, so whether it's for yourself or whether you have another contact that is already in that space, and they might be kind enough to allow you to just get a little bit of access to the placement portal, not to see the young people or anything like that, but you can get the leads, you can get the details, the contact details of the placement officers and the teams and all that kind of stuff there quite easily that way. So I would definitely recommend trying to get access to the placement portal. That is probably going to be your best bet for finding people's details. But bear in mind as well, when we're talking about working with any kind of local authority and councils, it's all supposed to be public information anyway. So once you know the keywords and you know what you're looking for, Google's actually pretty good. So the same way we go onto LinkedIn, type in the job title and the area and find the relevant information, then taking that, then going back over to Google and putting a lot of that in, you'll probably end up finding emails and all that kind of stuff there. So then, you know, it's another front you can hit them on. And regarding a template for our provision, I'll definitely get one into the group. I won't be able to find it quick enough now, but I'll definitely put one into the group to give people an idea. And I'm not saying that it's not like a magic one. It's still a battle for us. We only have 50% occupancy in our support unit, and I would say that it's a bit of a weird one where there's supposed to be so much of a need for the service. There are a lot of young people in very vulnerable situations that you would think that when you have a provider that is clearly showing that they're serious about it, that they're ticking all the boxes, they've got all the approvals, they would be biting off the hand to work with you. But it's not the case. I feel like a lot of these councils and placement officers, they have the people that they use. They have like a small network of people that they use, so much so that by the time it hits the portal, it's probably already gone. It's probably only hitting there as a formality. So it really is about building relationships. Like I've had uh, two or three referrals from one person, and it's only because we was able to build a relationship. But prior to that, we couldn't even get a response. We couldn't get an email back from them. Nothing. Now we email them with WhatsApp, but it really is about building personal relationships. That it's not right. It's not how it should be, and it's probably not what most people think. It's not as clear cut, and it's not as above board. I'd probably even say. Really, it's supposed to go onto a portal. You see it, you apply for it, and if you're the best person with the fairest price, that young person or that referral of any level should go to the person that is best deserving of it. But I just don't think that's what's happening. So a lot of it is down to personal relationships. And going back to the real cost of poor preparation, I think that was probably one of the biggest things that I've learned over the last 12 months is that part of the preparation is building those relationships. So, how did you build the relationship for the first referral? Yeah. So we had, first of all, I didn't do it myself. I had one of my members of staff that just does admin. I said to her, listen, a couple of hours a day, I need you to just absolutely spam relevant people. Like, I don't care who it is. I don't care if they work in the same office. Like, find different ways of getting through to these people. And then we also ran an open day as well, which out of like 10 people that said they were going to come, maybe 4 or 5 came. But it was actually very fruitful. And I think after that, we got our first referral. It does help that my collaborative partner in this already had some good relationships with people, But then the work I was doing was almost speaking to the same people and like reminding them that we existed, and then that led to the first referral. But it was hard. Um, the unit that I'm thinking about, we had nearly 6 months before we was able to get one referral, and that's not something that it's not something that's very easy to maintain. It's not something that is easy to like absorb that loss really, because it was a loss. Like we're still essentially in a deficit on that unit, but I guess it's just part of the game. It's just literally just part of the game. So in terms of building a relationship on the first referral, you also should be taking into account the time it's going to take and the amount of money that it's going to burn through before you get to that first referral. And from my own experience, it can take months. It can take months. There's no fast track for that. So in terms of poor preparation, I would definitely factor in um, the referral, building good relationships with referral partners. What else did I have on there? Wasted time. Yeah, yeah, for young people. Right. Mm, 100%. I mean, even for ourselves, we've actually never had a referral from Birmingham. We've reached out to them. I even have some decent contacts, some people in some senior positions, and for some reason, we've just never had any referrals from them. Even for just for the adult side, like in terms of working with Birmingham City Council, um, it's very few and far between. So it's just not set up to help, really, at all. No, I don't really know. Mm, mm. Yeah. So just to be when I'm saying 50% occupancy, that was for the young people. For our adult division, we're still only about 80% though. That should be full, if anything. The young people I can understand with the amount of adults, and we're just talking like low level, just literally sofa surfing. You know, that should be that should be full because I know if you go to any neighborhood office, that every day they're inundated by people saying I'm struggling and I need help. But who are they phoning? Who are they contacting? Yeah. So who knows? Who knows? Um, but yeah, moving on to good systems matter more than good sales pitches. Um, I can't really remember why I read that one, but I think yeah, that's what it was. It was again tied in into the referrals. The consistency matters more than anything else. The consistency of which you are reaching out to people and trying to build connections are better than having a one-off great sales pitch that wows somebody, but then you never follow it up. So again, for us, it was more so about how do we speak to people more often? How do we speak to the different placement teams and the providers officers more often to let them know that we exist. To the point where like once a week they may be getting an email, once a week we're talking to them on LinkedIn, we're trying to do something. We're producing content. We're even now, even the stuff, even this work right now, you just never know who will see it and say, actually, you know what, we can see that you genuinely are interested in what you do and you're doing this for the right reason. So we want to work with you. And I would encourage everyone, whether it's personally or through the business, to build your social media presence, because that digital footprint works when you're not working. And, it's just something that you can't really quantify. How resident outcomes drive everything. Yeah. So this is something that I think I still continue to work with in my own organization, and making sure that whatever we're doing, it's down to the outcomes of the resident, because it's very easy sometimes to deliver something that you think is good, that you think is great, that you believe somebody should like or should want. But at the end of the day, what really matters is, are your residents moving forward? Are they safe? Are they being looked after in the way that they're supposed to be? And are you really hitting your key deliverables? Or are you just offering someone that you think they would like and really it's not the best thing for them? And I think you don't have to have bad intentions to have a weak delivery. And that's something that I've definitely spotted within our own organization in the past, thinking that we're doing a great job and realizing that actually this isn't the best thing for the person. One thing that we do is every quarter we have something that we call a resident satisfaction survey, which is it's just a survey relevant to our business that we get all of our support staff to carry out with the residents to ensure that we're hitting the markers, like in terms of, is this what you want? Is this a good place for you? Is it a safe place for you? What do you think about the accommodation? What do you think about the support? What would you want from us if we could, give you more? Would you recommend us to someone else? These kind of questions. But just ensuring in whatever we're doing, the resident outcome drives everything, because you'll soon find that, again, when it comes to Ofsted, CQC, or even non-regulated services, if you have too much dissatisfied residents and they are asked by any kind of authority or auditing body, it will come back to bite you, and it can be a reason why people are deregistered. Really, if they've got too much dissatisfied people and then they're not meeting the requirements, then it's very easy to take your eye off the ball in that way. People may even come across, residents may even come across as generally happy and satisfied, but it's not okay if they're not moving forward and the outcomes are not being delivered, because essentially it's a form of supported accommodation or supported living. If people are in this situation, it's not okay to just look after their well-being. We need to be showing some form of support and development and growth. And I've found that definitely in the past, when I was a bit more fresh in this industry, I focused so much on making people happy that I didn't realize that I actually wasn't helping them to move forward. If anything, I was just keeping them very comfortable in the position that they were in. So I would definitely say, resident outcomes drive everything, and that's something that people just need to be mindful of, because you don't have to have bad intentions to fall foul of that. Importance of knowing your provisions limits and having escalation procedures ready. This is something I can relate to more so on the adult side of things, and this is where we work with Caroline and her organization, because for our adult provision, we do low-level support, low-level needs. If anyone becomes chaotic or has any high-level drugs, alcohol, high-level mental alcohol usage, high level mental health, high level mental health needs, where they become like to the point where they're unable to function with low level support. It's too much for us. We don't have the resources for it, and we're not set up to handle that. So we reach out to organisations like Caroline's, where she is registered, she's trained, she has the capabilities to handle something quite higher, and just being honest about it, and not trying to hold people in positions that we can't we can't support, which goes back to the resident outcome. If we don't believe that we can work with this person to get the outcomes that we're trying to get, which is moving them back into independent accommodation, independent living, work, education, if we can't get them there with what we have, then it's time to escalate it. And part of our escalation is a move on program, not to make them homeless again, but to move them into somewhere that is more suitable for them. And if anything, contain and support them in that transition. I'd be interested to hear, has anyone had any experience in working with people that they can't help, and having to move them on to other provisions? Okay, while we're waiting there, I'm going to go to Chardonnay's notes. Organisation is based in London. The framework has 600 providers. Yeah, yeah. You just gotta make noise. You just gotta make a lot of noise, and like I said, there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts to it. It's just hard. It's just hard for us as well, and we find that most of our referrals are from self referrals, not for the young people, for the adults, but self referrals is what fills our bed spaces. Um, how do you review the progress on a quarterly basis and show the reportings to each placement team? So reviewing the progress is going to be forms, so like surveys, online surveys that we sit down and, like, literally as part of the support session, get the team to fill out. The team to fill out with the residents, and then at the end of that, we can produce a report based on what the findings say, to say, all right, 80% of people are happy in accommodation, 90% wish that they had this, 90% wish they had that. Most of them would recommend us to someone else. We can produce a report in that way. And then again, when we build up the database of all the placement officers and teams and all that kind of stuff there, we can just turn it into like a nice document, a Canva document, a Canva PDF, looks aesthetically pleasing, and send it out to them. So there's really no rules. Just think to yourself, like, how would you want to receive this information, and what would catch your eye? It now we're just getting into sales and marketing of our services. So yeah, going back to where we was, outcomes drive everything, pointing on services. How small early mistakes can magnify during the registration inspections. Um, can I think of an example of this? Small early mistakes can magnify during registration inspections. I've never been through a registration inspection, so I can't speak firsthand, but I can only speak on what I've heard and what I've seen. And I think a lot of the small early mistakes is gonna revolve around hiring, staffing teams, and the recruitment process. And one of the problems that I keep seeing coming up is, by the time registration comes, the culture and the training and the care models have not been put in place well enough, so that by the time the registration and the inspection comes around, people don't know what they're doing, or they're not singing off the same hymn sheet, and that is picked up by the inspector, who says, yeah, you're not running a tight enough ship. We don't feel comfortable passing you off. Like, it's almost as if you was already running, it would be a needs work or needs improvement, but at the point where you're supposed to be signed off. So that's one of the things that I've seen quite often, and it's an industry that runs quite heavily on people. So, without getting that point right, it's going to be a headache. And even for our collaborative um, care leavers project that we have down in Wolverhampton, we started quite heavily using um, agencies, agencies, which can be good, but you can't grow. And I see that there's a situation where sometimes people are starting up their a care provision solely using agencies, and I guess having very little even intention of finding the wrong people. For us, from day one, it was always an idea of who I was going to use, who could I pull from another project and bring over to this one. Like it was always a goal to get rid of the agency staff so that we could build our own culture and have our own systems and processes and have our own understanding with people that we actually knew, which is hard to do. But again, one of the reasons why I run this group and I have these calls is you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know who's at different places in their journey. So, for example, someone that I've met over this journey was a is currently in university now, studying their level 5 for to work towards registered manager, but they need their experience. So within that, I was able to say, well, let's work together then. I can basically put you in a position where you can do hours with me, gain your experience, so that by the time you finish, you have enough of your experience in place. And it just really becomes like a bit of a a, a, a synchronicity between us where it serves everyone. Just looking at these notes. Some with contractors with a view to go into full-time employment within 3 months. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. 100%. Can I ask, how do you retain your staff? Have you had a lot of turnover? Do you find that, you know, after a while, people seem to burn out and want to go into different things? Mm, mm, mm. Of course, yeah. Nice. Agnes, sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Hello. Hmm. Mm, 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 okay. No, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can hear that you've got a lot of experience in this area. Um, yeah, just going back to what Chardonnay said, starting with contractors with a view to go into full time employment. To be honest, I've done this a few times where I work with recruitment agencies and we have a contract that after a certain amount of hours, they will transfer over to us free of charge. So the recruitment company knows that they got X amount of hours out of me. And it tends to be like around the 3 month mark that they put their term transfer over. So this might be something similar to what you're saying. I think it's good because essentially it's almost like them being on probation and without having a lot of the commitment to them. The only thing about this is it can be quite costly, and if you hire well, then you shouldn't have that problem anyway of getting the wrong person. That said, it's just better to have them on the book sometimes and just be paying just the normal rates than be paying that premium because they've come through an agency or they've come through in some kind of like a 0 hour type contract way. You're gonna pay that premium. So like once or twice that's all right, but when you're really trying to grow, it can become quite costly. So that's the only thing that I've noticed for us. Unless you find the right recruitment agencies that are not gonna kill you too much on the those rates. Um, yeah, move. Mm, mhm, mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm. Yeah. And I would say that if you're kind of still small and like these next few hires really do matter, you might just want to go down using the recruitment agency route and then getting them to transfer over. Because when I was just starting, I hired some people that end up getting sued at one point, and somebody started, and during the probation there was like taking a lot of sicks, but my HR company said, oh well, technically this isn't in line with the job, so you can't get rid of them. And it was quite painful. And just nowadays you just don't know who you're going to get. People can present themselves very well and be something else. So again, until you're slightly larger and you can absorb some messing around, it might be safer to go down a recruitment agency route, where someone is not necessarily under your books in the initial stages. Just noting the time at the moment. So uh, I'm really happy when it goes like this. We've literally just coming to the end of section one. Um, so let me just look at these thought starter questions. What areas do you think providers overlook when preparing for registration? I would just say time. Like honestly, the time that it's taken for any registration at the moment, doesn't even matter what level we're talking about, is it's excessive. It's literally excessive. I've heard someone waiting 9 months for an Ofsted uh, for Ofsted just to come out. Like they've done the registration, they've sent in the application, they've got the house there, they've got the relevant staff there, and they're just waiting, they're just waiting, just waiting. They've paid the money and they're just waiting. Um, so I think that don't like really be vocal. Speak to people that are going through the process. Find out who else is going through it, and ask them how long did it take, and make sure that that is being factored in to the process. Um, should all organisations seek outside audits before applying? Again, this is just my opinion and just based on any experience that I've got. I think during what, like in real time, the process that we're going through right now, we're getting so much different opinions and making sure that we've got the relevant people. And essentially, especially when it comes to like RIs and RMs, we're making sure that they're so well qualified that we shouldn't need any outside audits before applying. Like that's what we're paying them for. We're paying them well for them to use their knowledge and make sure that we're not leaving any stones unturned. And also, I have my own experience as well. And I would say that I'm not afraid to challenge people that are actually more experienced than me to see things from a different point of view. Because I find that people in the care industry are so experienced in the care that they may miss something that is more operational or on the business side of things. So by putting different kind of mindsets and hats together, when you do all agree, you know that it's a solid decision. So I wouldn't say that outside audits are necessary, but that's only if you're internally quite strong. And yeah, 9 months. That's an empty property for 9 months. Uh, yeah. All right. So in terms of audits, you have consultants that will come and look at, say, your children's home, from the eyes of an inspector. They may have been ex Ofsted inspectors, so they'll come to the house and do a mock inspection and double check that everything is where it needs to be before you even apply. Yeah, or it could be yeah, it could be in any level. It could be CQC. It could even just be for health and safety inspections. But if you know what you're doing, then I don't believe that there is much outside of what is right and what is wrong that you should be falling short of. Yeah, yeah, 100%. We all have the same information. They're not coming with any curveballs. It's just a case of making sure you haven't made any silly mistakes. So again, if you've got the team in place that is qualified and you've hired correctly, you shouldn't really need to have outside audits. The only thing that I would say it makes sense is when you're actually running the service, especially for children, then having outside auditors coming then, because when you're actually running the service, not just starting it up, there are things that you can miss that become so normal and, accepted in the way you operate, that it takes someone from the outside the organization to come in and say, that's not okay. You need to stop that. You need to fix that, or you need to do this, something about that quicker. Or this member of staff is getting too comfortable here or there. Like, just sometimes you need an outside eye to come and see things in the running state. But when there's nothing going on and you haven't set yourself in any bad habits or anything like that, and you're literally just starting from scratch, you should be able to look at your own situation and get it right before applying. Um, and how are you embedding quality? Yep, yep. Hmm. Okay, nice. Mhm. Yeah, that's really impressive. I've looked at some of those ISOs and the investors in people, and to be honest, for me, although I want to, sometimes those things give me anxiety because it's just like, oh man, like, can I ensure that we're always hitting those marks and adhering to those standards? So hats off to you if you're at that place where you can go forward with that and deliver that. Okay. So I would say I'm gonna add this link. Everyone's got a link to it anyway, but I'll add this link in the group. Thank you, Pretty, for that one. Um, I'll add this link in the main group. I'll put it in there tomorrow because the internet's moving a bit slow. Um, but just generally, that was just a link to kind of close off this sector. And Ofsted is basically warning that too many young people are placed without enough regulatory oversight. So essentially, um, young people have been placed in places that are probably substandard, that haven't really done the checks properly, but seems okay, and you know, with all the barriers and regulation necessary, you don't. It's surprising that this is happening, but again, um, it really just comes down to who a placement officer is seeing at the time, who they want to work with, who they feel good about, and just placing with them. But it makes it very easy for young people to be placed in provisions that are just not suitable for them, or not placed well or matched well with the other young people in that property. Or yeah, I'm saying young people, but you could use that interchangeably for adults. You can use it for those with complex needs. Um, it's a problem. It's a problem at the moment, and this is just leading to more regulation, more auditing, and more just more weight, more eyes on the industry at the moment because the amount of money that they're paying out to get this right, really, no one should be in any bad situations, but it's happening. And the key takeaway from this section was that the real foundations take time. Um, Registration is a sign of commitment to excellence, but it's not a shortcut. It doesn't mean that it doesn't end when the registration starts. In fact, it just starts at that point. For someone that's been in the industry like nearly 8 years now, especially in the adult side of things, I found that it doesn't necessarily get any easier, and I would say it's probably even got harder since I've been operating. More regulations come in, more regular audits, all that kind of stuff there. Um, but we are at a point now where over time the things that used to be a big problem in the start have become more easier to bear and easier to work with. So for anyone that's just starting out, it's just more of a, or even just quite new, it's just more of a, just it's a journey. It's a marathon. It's definitely not a race. And once those foundations are built, it does get easier to even deal with the hard things, but it takes time. It takes time to really build those foundations. It's not something that can be happening quick. Even if you had all the information, when you take that theory and actually apply it in the real world, you know, it takes a lot of time. All right, last few questions. Have an insurance quote, but they're excluding abuse. I think you really need one including abuse. For the service that I run on a day-to-day basis, I don't need to include abuse, but for the children's, I think you do need a level of indemnity for that. So I would seek some advice and ensure that you've got that. But I used Gallagher for our quote. Where can I get information on pricing rates for housing benefits? For the housing benefit, you can just look at the local housing allowance rate. Okay, that's from Gallagher. Fair enough. Um, yeah, sometimes you have to be a bit specific with them. And like when we ask for a quote, we actually list absolutely everything we want. So don't even send it to us if it hasn't got those things. And the abuse thing was one of the things that was advised that we definitely should include in there, just for your own self. Anyway, even if you could get through without it, some things you should just have, and never need it. Hopefully. Um, Housing benefits or local housing allowance rate on any council website will give you that. In terms of the rates for the exemption, it's a bit harder to get. Um, I can tell you off the top of my head, you're looking at 220 to 230 per person per week in Birmingham. I'm not sure what it is outside of Birmingham. Okay, and if they're saying that industry standard for abuse is to be excluded, I would say just get a second opinion. I can't speak confidently on what should be included or not in a standard insurance for a children's home. For adults, we don't have any abuse or anything like that for adults, including in our insurance at all. All right, everyone. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you. All right. So hopefully we'll catch you next quarter on another call. And yeah, let's have a great week ahead. All right. Take care.